Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So we'll continue inshallah from the Tafsir of Surah Waqiah. We just finished the section about the people of Jannah. We spoke about that along with the amazing experiences that the people of Jannah will have. One of the great ways of Allah Ta'ala indicating to us how to make life a Jannah here is that we start to act like the people of Jannah. So we explained about how they all love one another, they love to face one another. And one of the last sections that we spoke about was actually between husband and wife. That uruban and turaba, there are two qualities that Allah described between spouses, and that if these two qualities were inside us as Muslim families, you'll find that alhamdulillah the marriages will function they will function properly. What are these two qualities? Allah says that they have tremendous love for one another, and atraba, they're trying their best to be compatible and match one another. So this first one is that we should try our best inshallah to become people that really for the subhanAllah, we always make jokes about marriages, It's like, oh, this marriage, this guy, he got yelled at by his wife, But having said that, like, it's not always like, rain clouds, right? It's it's a wonderful experience, mashallah. And this is the thing that we should encourage, having tremendous love for our spouses, right? Having this amazing love and so much affection, right? And this is things that, unfortunately, because of our growing up and the way we raised, we don't really take advantage of. For example, Eid Day. Eid Day is supposed to be a day we're supposed to give gifts. But the one that never receives the gifts is usually the wife. And the husband doesn't get anything, And there's something that we should be exchanging gifts, right? To show our love for one another. And atraba, the second thing here, is that they should be compatible in age. The Prophet ﷺ, when he was offered Fatima radiallahu anha, for example, Abu Bakr offered he said, I will marry Fatima. Prophet didn't accept that. Neither did he accept Umar radiallahu anhu. Umar also offered Fatima. The Prophet married Fatima radiallahu anha to whom? Ali radiallahu anhu, because the fact that they were closer to age. And this is something that when parents are marrying off their children, something to keep in mind. That because of the fact that they are growing up, they're kind of like contemporaries, kind of like friends. So they grow up in that type of mindset as well. Something from the Quran. Okay. So we're reaching now to the section of the people of the left, which means the people of Jahannam. Okay, and when we read about this section, again, there are two things I want to keep in mind. I always find it very funny in this masjid for some reason. Every time it's Friday, I always get a Jahannam section. I have no idea why that keeps happening. Okay, but in any case, I just want to make sure for everyone, make sure you remember two things when you read about these sections of Jahannam. Is that what a blessing of Allah Ta'ala that we're reading about Jahannam, not experiencing Jahannam. What a blessing of Allah that we're reading about Jahannam, not experiencing Jahannam. Because Allah that tells you about the warnings from beforehand. So now you know about Jahannam. You read about it, and then what happens? When you commit a sin, if you made a mistake, may Allah protect us. But if you commit a sin, what happens? The fear comes in the heart. Tears come out of the eyes. Because of the fact that, Ya Allah, I made a mistake. I don't want to go to Jahannam. And so this is one thing we want to keep in mind when we read about these sections, because we read about these sections all the time. It's because we remind ourselves that, look, if we make a mistake, there's a consequence to this. And we should ask Allah for forgiveness. And Allah Ta'ala is Ghafur Rahim. You'll be fine, inshallah Ta'ala. And the second thing I want everyone to remember, inshallah, this is something we always forget, is about non-Muslims around us. SubhanAllah, the fact that we have kalima la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah is such a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But non-Muslims around us that don't have this kalima, where will they go? What is their end? Right? And then you're going to read about this section, and you're going to tell yourself, this was actually revealed for the Qurayshi, the people at the time of the Prophet from Quraysh, those non-Muslims. And that's what we need to think too, that these people around me, subhanAllah, I didn't give them kalima at all. This is what could be their end, their fate. And that's what you have to think about, how can I save them? Like, they should not let you sleep at night. This is not a concern that we have, that how can we save these non-Muslims from Jahannam? Should be that fikr that keeps us awake, thinking about what can we do for them. Right? This is why I want everyone to know, when you read about these sections, think about the non-Muslim in your family, in your friend circle, or your colleagues or whatever, and how can I give them the da'wah properly? That way they come towards la ilaha illallah. May Allah grant us that tawfiq, inshallah. Allah says, and the people of the left. What about the people of the left? Fi samumin wa hamim. Allah says first and foremost, fi samum, which is a scorching wind. Wa hamim, boiling water. The scorching wind is because of what? Because of the flames of Jahannam that are coming out. And so what happens when you have a hot fire? You get hot winds. So the hot winds are coming. Fi samumin. And so when they find themselves that they've taken so much from the fire of Jahannam, where do they go? They go to try to drink some water. What kind of water are they offered? Boiling water. Fi samumin wa hamim. This is the exact ayah in Surah Al-Rahman. Yatufuna baynaha wa bayna hamimin an. Allah said, they alternate between the fire and between the boiling water. And this is exactly what it's mentioned here. Fi samumin wa hamim wa dhillin. And in a shade and a shadow. Right? So now you'll find that the people of Jahannam in this surah is described as going between the fire and then going between the water. And then and then they find that there might be a place of shade to go to. Is there any shade in Jahannam? Right? وَظِلٍّ مِّن يَحْمُومٍ. right? It's a shade out of smoke. Okay. So now, what did the person think that he was going towards? He thought he was going to go towards something happy, something to make him feel comfort. But is there any comfort in Jahannam? No. So anything that a person would feel in Jahannam to be comfort, Allah makes into adab. And so that's the flip of Jannah, by the way. Jannah was what? Allah takes away all the difficult, all the hard parts in Jannah. Whereas in Jahannam, there's no such thing as any comfortable spot. Even things people would enjoy, they'll find it be difficult. And people only will focus on the physical things in Jahannam. They tell themselves that there are physical pains in Jahannam. Trust me, the psychological pains, the emotional pains are even worse. You thought there was a shade there, you went there, what did you find? Even more fire. It's not cold. It's not cold, nor is it tender, is it comfortable for anyone. It's not there to help you. Because what can a person say? The smoke is up there, so at least it gets a little chilly, right? You know? Some people say these types of things, nonsense things. What do we hear in our ummah? We hear people say, yeah, I'll spend a couple of days at Jannah. Are you crazy? You think it's a vacation? Are you dumb? Allah forgive. Such words come out of our mouth because we don't understand. As soon as the gate of Jahannam opens, Allah describes in the Quran, Surah Al-Anbiya, when this gate of Jahannam is opened, nafhatun min adabi rabbik, right? Nafha is used for when the door opens and you feel the nice breeze come in, right? In nafha in Arabic, when you open your door and you feel the nice breeze come in, that's nafha. Allah Ta'ala says, وَلَئِن مَسَّتْهُ نَفْحَةٌ مِنْ عَذَابِ رَبِّكَ. When they feel the breeze of Jahannam's door opening for the punishment of your Lord, يَقُولُونَ يَا وَيْلَنَا إِنَّا كُنَّا ظَالِمِينَ. They say, Allah, forgive us, we were truly oppressors. Just because of the door opening of Jahannam, they can't take it anymore. You think they're going to spend a couple of days in there? فِي لَا بَارِدٍ وَلَا كَرِيمٍ. So Allah gives us these couple of ayat to reflect on. May Allah protect us from it. إِنَّمْ كَانُوا قَبْلَ ذَلِكَ مُتْرَفِينَ. Allah doesn't leave you there. Allah tells you, I don't want you to go there. So I tell you the sifat, the qualities that will lead you there. So make sure you don't be like them. There are three things Allah mentions. إِنَّمْ كَانُوا قَبْلَ ذَلِكَ مُتْرَفِينَ. Before that, there were people who were extravagant. They used to be so excessive. They used to spend so many things. A musrif is someone who does israf. Someone who does israf is someone who wastes. Wasting is israf. Mutrif is when a person, they are living, they have so much wealth and they continue to spend it on luxury upon luxury upon luxury. So I give a simple example. Israf will be like, for example, you wasting food at iftar time, dinner time. Don't do that, please. Okay? It's really doesn't. It's bad. It's bad. We should not do that. Okay? That's israf. It's halal, right? The food is halal. You're eating it, and then you throw away the halal stuff at the end. That's wasting. Itraf is when you take haram and you do extra haram. It's like you're already doing haram and you're buying more of it. It's like buying one TV and then buying like 50 TVs on top of it. It's like, okay, I got another sale, Black Friday sale, let's get another one. That's when you're doing itraf. Because when people are spending even more and more and more on luxurious things that they're million for. That's number one. Number two is, the second thing Allah Ta'ala says that they were persistent, they continuously did major sins. They never made tawbah from their major sins. What is the solution for major sins? Whenever you commit a major sin, you must make tawbah. There's no way around it. No one else can help you with it. You must raise your hands in front of Allah, pray 2 rakats, give some sadaqah, and say, Allah, forgive me for the major sin. And the Quran describes, they said it could be described as lying, or it can be described as breaking promises. What did you promise Allah Ta'ala when you came into this world? We all promised Allah, we will worship you, Ya Allah. We promised Allah, we will listen to you, Ya Allah. This is the promise Allah said, before you came here, I took an ahad from you, I took a covenant from you. My contract with you was what? You will listen to me. You will obey me. And what happens when they come to dunya? Who is Allah? Why do we need Allah? Would you need to pray 5 times? Why does it even matter? We make jokes about Allah Ta'ala. Allah says this is the second thing, the major sins. And the third one is what? وَكَانُوا يَقُولُونَ إِذَا مِتْنَا وَكُنَّا تُرَابًا وَعِظَامًا إِنَّا لَمَبْعُوثُونَ. They said that when we die and become dust and bones, are we going to be resurrected? When we become dust and bones, are we going to be resurrected? Our forefathers, okay, they're making jokes about the resurrection. They don't really believe in it. Is Qiyamah going to happen or not? I don't really care. I'm going to live my life for this life. YOLO, right? You only live once, right? What is the Sprite logo? Obey your thirst. Ajib. Just follow your nafs. Do whatever your nafs says. Don't care about if there's any consequences. They say, you're really going to tell me we're turning dust and bones? We're going to turn like this? You're telling my old forefather, my great dada, you're telling about him? He's going to be raised on the Day of Judgment too? Everyone's going to be raised and making fun of the Prophet ﷺ. So Allah says, قُلْ يَا مُحَمَّدْ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. Say, Muhammad صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. إِنَّ الْأَوَّلِينَ وَالْآخِرِينَ. Oh Prophet ﷺ, tell them straight. You being the person who has so much rahmah for everyone. You tell them straight. إِنَّ الْأَوَّلِينَ وَالْآخِرِينَ. The first and the last. لَمَجْمُعُونَ إِلَى مِيقَاتِ يَوْمٍ مَعْلُومٍ. Everyone's going to be gathered. إِلَى مِيقَات. What is a miqat? Huh? Appointed time is good, but in terms of Hajj, the border where everyone's supposed to put on the ihram. Can you go inside without me going to miqat? You must go to miqat, and when you reach miqat, you must be in what? Ihram. You will be in your kafan, okay? And then you will come on the day of judgment. Allah says, you're not going to go past miqat without meeting. You're going to first die, and then you'll come meeting me. Subhanallah. Allah they use a miqat because why? The people of Makkah, what do they understand better than anything else? Hajj. Allah says, you will come to the miqat لِيَوْمٍ مَعْلُومٍ for a known day, and a right time and a right place. Allah says, no missing that. ثُمَّ إِنَّكُمْ أَيُّهَا الضَّالُّونَ الْمُكَذِّبُونَ. Then, oh you, أَيُّهَا الضَّالُّونَ, oh you, the ones who are astray, the misguided rejectors. Oh you who are the misguided rejectors. لَآكِلُونَ مِنْ شَجَرٍ مِنْ زَقُّومٍ. Allah tells us about one more punishment to listen to. And this is an ajib punishment, I'm telling you, but it's also a very interesting one in terms of Arabic. Okay, I just want you to note that. I'm going to explain some of the Arabic things here, and you're going to be like, wow, it's really just extraordinary. لَآكِلُونَ مِنْ شَجَرٍ مِنْ زَقُّومٍ. You eat from a single tree of zaqqum. Okay? You eat from a single tree of zaqqum. The word la'akilun. Akilun, in Arabic you can either say akilun, or you could say ya'kulu or ta'kulu. Okay? So you can either use a verb or a noun. Right? So in Arabic it has a very nice subtle difference. When you use a verb, it means you're doing something one time. So for example, yadribu. Daraba yadribu. He hit him. Daraba. He hit how many times? One time. He hit, right? But if you have body in Arabic, a hitter, right? That means you hit multiple times. The guy, mashallah, has a good average. Mashallah, he's a good baseball player, whatever. Right? You don't be daraba, you don't be the verb, you want to be the noun. Okay? So you can be akala or akil. Okay? Akala means you eat once. Akilun means eat over and over and over again. From what? Min shajarin, from a single tree, min zaqqum. Okay, now pay attention to the akilun. It's going to come sharibun and mali'un. Okay, all of them are going to come in the same exact way. Okay, but let's first talk about the word zaqqum. I know, subhanAllah, people are already thinking it's a terrible fruit, but I want to tell you the genius of Arabic here. The genius of Arabic here. Okay, there are 6 different ways they understood the word zaqqum. It has 6 different places you can derive the meaning from. Number 1 is from its smell. They say it comes from the smell of zafira, which is a terrible odor, which is described as the odor of the, The number 1 is the terrible odor that it has. It is like this description of the smell of the armpits. The second thing is described as a bitter taste, murra, right? That's describing its taste. Number 3 is described as ta'un. What is a ta'un? It's a plague. They said that the fruit of zaqqum is like a plague or pandemic on the earth, subhanAllah. The third thing describes it when you look at it. They said the branches look like the heads of snakes. They said the leaves are very ugly. And they said the last thing is that when you look at the word zaqama, yazqamu in Arabic, it means to take large gulps. Because when a person eats zaqqum, are they going to chew on it? No, they're going to swallow it whole. Okay, and it's described in a very interesting way. It describes a person chugging milk. What happens when you chug milk? You will throw up. You will throw up. These 6 words have been used to describe zaqqum as a tree, as a fruit that you cannot taste, you cannot smell, and you can't even look at because it's so disgusting. It's just from the Arabic, subhanAllah. What is the person going to be doing with this fruit? لَآكِلُونَ مِنْ شَجَرٍ مِنْ زَقُّومٍ. They're going to be eating it how many times? Over and over and over and over again. فَمَالِئُونَ مِنْهَا الْبُطُونَ. Right, it's supposed to be minhu. Became minha. Okay. In Arabic, the word shajar is masculine. Okay. Masculine means one thing. You're going to talk about singular, I think. Okay. And when you're using, when you use plural, you can use feminine. Okay. The word shajar in Arabic here, you can use it if it's masculine. It's going to be used for one time. Okay. And if it's used in feminine, shajaratun, right? And minha is a feminine pronoun, right? Ha. Minha is for feminine. Okay. What is the masculine pronoun? Does anyone know? Minhu or alayhi. Okay. Alayhi is for masculine, one. Okay. And feminine again is minha. Okay. So Allah Ta'ala says, لَآكِلُونَ مِنْ شَجَرٍ مِنْ زَقُّومٍ. They'll finish one tree of zaqqum. فَمَالِئُونَ مِنْهَا الْبُطُونَ. They're not going to be filling their stomachs with one tree. How many trees are they going to be finishing? Minha. Many trees. So in other words, it's already a bitter fruit. You put it in your mouth, you're swallowing, you're eating. And then what happens is you finish one tree of zaqqum, what do you do next? You go to another tree, and another tree, and another tree, and then you continue until what? You try to fill your stomach with it.
فَشَارِبُونَ عَلَيْهِ مِنَ الْحَمِيمِ. But what happens between each one? That's why alayhi is used here. We just flip the pronoun again. The mean was used to describe how many trees you're eating. But between each one, فَشَارِبُونَ عَلَيْهِ. For each one, what are you going to try to do? You're trying to down it because it's stuck. What does it get stuck in? It's stuck in the throat. So what does he do? He tries to go towards the boiling water, he drinks it, he tries to chug it down. Allahu Akbar. So then what happens to him? He burns everything. He burns everything. And then what does he do again? He goes and drinks, and then he goes to another tree. He goes to drinks, he gets another tree, he goes and drinks another tree. And how is he drinking the water? فَشَارِبُونَ عَلَيْهِ مِنَ الْحَلِيمِ فَشَارِبُونَ شُرْبَ الْهِيمِ. He continues to drink like the drink of the diseased camel. And the word him in Arabic is used for a camel that cannot get full from water. He continues to drink and drink and drink, it never ends. Then Allah says something very ajib. هَذَا نُزُلُهُمْ يَوْمَ الدِّينِ. This is their appetizer. Oh, Allah protect us. You know, subhanAllah, we spend so much time just talking about the single fruit. Allah protect us from it. And these are the small couple of, look, you know, if I were to compare the number of ayat, there's only like 3-4 ayat Allah talking about Jahannam. But that was more than enough to get the message across. Yet Allah does spend so many pages talking about Jannah. You know, because He wants you to focus on those things. But reminding ourselves for 2 things again. Number 1 is, Ya Allah, if I commit a sin, understand that there's a consequence to it. And I need to make tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And number 2 is that we need to make sure we make da'wah to these non-Muslims. I cannot stress this enough about how much they deserve a call to Islam. Because no one wants to eat this for themselves. They wouldn't wish this on his worst enemy. Yeah, my good friend, those friends that I grew up with, those non-Muslims, why don't I go and tell them about Islam? What will they have been hurt? You might give them la ilaha illallah, they might accept it. You never even know. You know, one brother, he said the other day, he gave in a tweet very beautifully, he said, Alhamdulillah, today my 96-year-old mother accepted Islam. SubhanAllah. You never know when the time will come. He said, I've been giving da'wah to her for 26 years. After I accepted Islam myself, then I gave da'wah to my mom, and then she accepted, subhanAllah. You never know what can be that one word. So may Allah Ta'ala so become that person who gives them da'wah, inshallah ta'ala. I'll stop here because I have tender to do later on. And I've already given you too much Jahannam as it is. So inshallah, we'll go to the next section tomorrow, inshallah, which is a beautiful section about the world. May Allah grant us tawfiq and understanding, inshallah ta'ala.